Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm gonna press record.
Here's your water, Run. I got your water.
Don't be greedy, but you can have it.
Okay. You got 5 in?
That is correct.
Sweet. You mind if we start a bit early?
Correct.
Perfect. Hey,
Hello.
yeah, excellent.
I
All right.
live.
Good to know. Good to
Yeah,
know.
that's how I feel.
That's welcome back.
Yeah.
All right, well, I got 6 o'clock on my clock, so I want to bring us to order. Let's do the roll call.
Yes. Matt Berry,
Here.
Red Brown.
Yep.
He's here.
Rod, are you here?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
Daniel Den.
Yep.
Nicholas Greif.
Present.
Jim Henson. Dominic Mosseri.
Here.
Scott Van Dalen.
Here.
And Sunita Eisenberg is absent.
Great. That's good. I got you down this time, Scott.
Oh.
That's down to I feel good. Sweet, this is flag sleep. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mark?
Yeah. Oh, good evening, commissioners. Quick update for you. Council is continuing their deliberations on the comp plan. They've been looking at and reviewing chapters 1, 2, and 3 to date. Next Tuesday is an all-day special committee of the whole meeting where they're hoping to finish up chapter 2 land use. They have over 100 proposed amendments to date. And then I think they finished chapter 1 and chapter 3, housing and introduction, tentatively. And they made recommendations to prepare for their staff to prepare those for final public hearing, those chapters. Next Tuesday, we'll hopefully they'll finish up chapter 2, and then they'll take under consideration chapter 4, capital facilities, chapter 5, utilities, chapter 6, transportation, and chapter 7, economic development. And they've been scheduling a public comment period before they begin on those individual chapters every meeting date. So they're getting some input on those chapters. So that is ongoing. Council adopted, we brought them the docket. The 26th docket, they passed that Tuesday night. That has 15 new items on it for us to undertake, along with 8 items that are still in progress. And we finished 6 of the items on the docket last year. So a lot going on with that. We will forward that to you guys once we get final council signature, executive approval, and get those items all labeled and stuff, and then we'll forward those to you guys as well. And we could talk about the year ahead. What I told council is we can't do all of those things that are on that list. It's basically a to-do list for us. And so once council adopts it, and they can change it at any time, you guys could add things to it as well. Then we'll figure out from a department standpoint, what can we actually do this year? What are the priorities? For us, the priorities are always legal mandates, state mandated requirements, and then if there's legal compliance issues and things like that, those take priority. So for us, obviously finishing the comp plan and implementing regulations will keep us busy, staff busy through June at minimum. And then we've got the critical areas ordinance is due 6 months after adoption. So that will take the priority for staff to start working on that. And I don't know if I mentioned this or not at the last meeting, but the Linden School District and the Ferndale School District both requested that we adopt impact fees for the unincorporated portions of their school district. So we will prioritize that as well. So those are going to be kind of the big ticket items that staff will be working on this year. And Alex and his colleagues will be working on updating the public benefit rating system for the open space program, something that's long been on our to-do list and just haven't been able to get there. So we've made that a priority this year. And Alex has got a graduate student intern from Western Washington University is going to help us work on that. So that's a good thing. And council also Tuesday night appointed a new planning commissioner, one of the two vacant seats, Selena Knobloch, and Selena will be joining us
On the 26th.
on the 26th at your next meeting. And then you want to talk about,
Oh, yeah.
Sunita?
We just got an email from Sunita last Friday and I already sent it over to council, the council's office. She will be resigning her seat as she's in the middle of all of her projects that she's doing as well as moving. So she will no longer be able to be on commission. So that has, the application for District 4 is now available and has been posted to our website. So
Her last meeting.
was supposed to be today, but she's unable to make it.
and I'll just wrap up so tonight we have one open space application that Alex will brief you on. The next meeting, your next meeting is March 26th. I will be gone that week. I won't be here. But Alex will be back with another open space application from BP on the 26th. And then staff is working on those zoning map amendments, kind of similar to what you reviewed for Blaine at your last meeting for all the other cities and all the other UGAs, where we're proposing any changes to the UGA boundaries or designations. We'll bring you the corresponding zoning changes that we've worked out with the cities for the municipal UGAs. And the code amendments. These are going to be these are the ones that we have to adopt concurrently with the comp plan. So we are working feverishly on those. Most of those are going to be on, again, text amendments to correspond to the upzones recommended in your UGA discussions and landmark discussions. On the map changes, now we got to do that, make sure that's reflected in the code. There's some other adequate provisions for affordable housing barriers that we have to look at, parking, things like that. So we'll be bringing those to you. We're hopeful on April 9th, and I understand that may be an issue.
Cause
I
I don't,
think both of you are going. Yeah,
and not available by Zoom,
okay.
so yeah.
I know that's spring
Could be available by Zoom.
That's spring break week, right?
Yeah, so probably, I don't know, anything else might be on.
Okay, well, I'm gonna have Eileen, poll you guys on that to make sure we can have a quorum on the 9th. Because council's indicated by their tentative schedule that we sent you, I think a week or two ago, they want to be ready to adopt the comp plan and hold a final public hearing in mid-May. So we gotta get this stuff, those zoning code amendments and the text amendments, the map amendments and code amendments to them at the same time. So we don't have a whole lot of time in April. We talked about combining those into a meeting where we had both the map amendments and the code amendments, but I don't know, that might be a bit much. But that might be an option, or possibly having a special meeting the week after the April 9th, and before the 23rd, if needed. Those are just sort of safety valves. So anyway, I'll ask Eileen to kind of pull you guys and just see if we can make sure we have quorums, for April 9th, for sure. That's all I got.
Questions from commissioners? I see a couple of hands online. Dominic, go ahead.
Yeah, if the public, if the open space rating system or evaluation gets updated, does all the current participants in that have to get reevaluated and reapproved?
That's one of the issues, we're gonna have to deal with legal. I think there's some different legal opinions on that. But yeah, that's something we definitely will look at as a part of that update.
Right, I saw your hand next.
Yeah, Eileen, you said there's a advertisement up for a commissioner for District 4. The new commissioner, where are they from? Which district?
District 1.
Okay. So it could
So
be
District
District,
4 and District 5.
yeah,
The applications for District 5 are still up and will be represented for introduction on April or March 24th. And then the vote will be the first session in April, from what Joe Nixon sent me.
thank you.
Jim, I saw your hand next.
Yeah, I just wanted to let you know I'm here.
Excellent.
Jim?
Put your little thingy down so we can see your face.
All we can see is your head.
You got a great looking head, but
Yeah.
maybe you can lower it down.
Oh, somebody move my camera. Oh,
No worries, Matt, what you got?
I was wondering if you could share the general area of that BP open space area so I can begin thinking about it.
Yeah, it'll come before you next session, so that's 2 weeks from now. You'll probably receive the packet, I think, mid next week with all the maps. But it's essentially the Gateway Pacific terminal site, so south of the Cherry Point BP terminal. About over 1,000 acres they originally applied for, 2 applications. They withdrew their larger one and their smaller one, which I think is 138 acres. That's what will come before you next time.
Okay.
So it's just, 4 parcels, a little over 100 acres.
The package should be sent out by the 18th.
I know, I just couldn't wait.
I can say that, yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting for sure.
Hey, Commissioner Thomas, Mark, I got a question for you. Could you go over how the population changes of the county adopted change the low housing need on HAPT in Birch Bay and Columbia Valley?
Not in any of the UGAs.
Yeah, but just Birch Bay and Columbia Valley.
They reduced the rural and resource land allocations by 1,700 people, something like that, to get to what was the consultant's sort of medium projection for non-UGA growth or rural and resource growth. And they did not want that redistributed anywhere else. So changed a couple of things, ran it through the HAP tool and all that, but basically just taking it out of what allocations there were.
I had understood that they reduced the need for low income housing in Birch Bay and Columbia Valley specifically, like. There's no low, like from the HAP, there was no housing in that income distribution in the rural areas.
Right.
And so they said, hey, we can't take it out of the rural areas, so we're gonna take it out of Columbia Valley and Birch Bay. Is that correct or is that?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah, Matt was working on that with Leland Consulting Group to get those numbers updated, so I can check with him.
Okay, yes, that's one thing, yeah. Any other questions for Mark for commissioners? Great. Next we have our open session for public comment. So anybody in the room or anybody online, you got 3 minutes to say your piece. If you have anything if you want. Eileen, you want to take it over?
Yes. Welcome to the meeting. The meeting is being broadcast live and the audio will be recorded and posted to the county website. As noted on our website, members of the public may watch the meeting or join online or by phone. During the open public comment session, you may not speak to items that are scheduled on the agenda for the public hearing. There will be a separate time for that. So tonight is the open space application for the Lane property, OSP 2025-002. So you can speak on any other topic aside from that. You'll be given 3 minutes, like the chair said. We only have 2 attendees. Do either of you wish to give public comment at this time?
About our property that's coming up.
That would be during the public hearing part of it. Right now, it's just an open session. Perfect. And I will double check for attendees online. There are no attendees, Chair, online.
All right, sounds good. Then we will close open session for public comment, and we'll move on to commissioner comments. Any commissioners have any comments? Scott?
Just to add for my being absent, I'll be back in the county, hopefully the 14th, but for sure the 15th if we add an additional meeting. So if you want to enter that in somewhere, that'd be great. Of April.
Thank you, Scott. Rudd, I see your hand. What do you got?
Yeah, this is actually a question for Mark, because I tried to ask him, but you didn't see me. Mark, where the 1,700 that they took out of the low income housing, where are they expecting those people to go?
It just reduced that overall demand because they reduced the overall countywide population.
Okay.
So and they were very clear, they did not want it redistributed to any of the cities or the UGA, so.
Okay.
It just comes off the top, but it only comes off from a population standpoint, it only comes out of the rural and resource land
Right.
allocation.
So just to get on the record, so we've further reduced 1,700 homes for the lowest of the income band at the same time as Bellingham says they can't fund 6,000 homes for low income either. So,
Right, it was 1,700 persons.
all right.
It was a reduction in the population. I don't know what the corresponding housing unit number was.
It's usually about 2.3.
Right.
So 2.1 to 2.3. So, call it, round numbers, call it 800 or maybe 700 homes. But my point is we've taken more homes out of that category at the same time as Bellingham has admitted they can't fund 6,000 of their homes in that category. So I'll say my piece.
Thank you, Rudd. Any other commissioner comments? Seeing none.
I've got my hand up.
Jim. Why don't I see? Oh, there you are. Jim, it
Yeah.
blends in the background there. Sorry about that, Jim.
Just
Go ahead.
Feedback I got on that council decision was they finally woke up to the fact that we were over projecting overall population growth and realized that it's contrary to our best interests of our community to push more people out, low-income people into rural ghettos.
Fair enough. Any other commissioner comments? I'll look a little closer online. All right, sweet. In that case, then I will close our commissioner comments and we'll go next to our approval minutes from our February 26th meeting. We'll take a look at those and I will entertain a motion to.
So moved. Second.
Discussion. See no discussion, let's do a roll call.
Hanson,
Yes.
Mosseri,
Yes.
Van Dalen,
Yes.
Barry,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Dunn,
Yes.
Greif.
Yes.
That passes.
Sweet. Next up, we have our meeting topic, open space application presentation by Alex. Take it away.
Great. And remind me how long I have for a presentation.
Only
6 hours.
Yeah, we got.
I could go that long. Leave it.
As long as
you need, as short as you can.
I feel like
that's the general.
As long as you need, as short as you can.
How about this? Feel free to interrupt me as I go and I'll try to keep it to the medium to short side of things. But if you want more detail, I can always expand on anything. Can I pull up the presentation?
You can share it too.
Your screen,
The presentation's right there.
this one.
Mhm.
All
But
right,
you have to.
can we get rid of the? Okay, I'll start as Eileen's cleaning that up. I'm Alex Harris. I work here at PDS, and my chief focus of my work is the conservation easement program. It's a voluntary program. We work with landowners on conservation easements. But another kind of side gig I have is running this open space program. We only really get 2, 3, sometimes 4 applications a year. And the first step is to come to the planning commission, and then all these applications go to council. So today we'll just have one application that I'll go over, and next week, I guess in 2 weeks, I'll have another one. We didn't group them for reasons I'll explain in 2 weeks when we talk about the BP application. That was a much bigger, complicated application, and I'll tell you about that then. So for today, I'll give you a brief overview of, if I can move that. Can you try to move that out of the way? Essentially, the open space program at Whatcom County can trace its way back to the 1970 Open Space Taxation Act. This was an RCW that really was founded on concern of conversion of resource lands, rural, open space, ag lands, forestry lands, lands that were ecologically important or important for recreational purposes. The idea of open space is that a property owner is taxed at the current use value of their land instead of the highest and best use. In a lot of cases, real estate is taxed at its highest and best use because there's real estate potential, residential development potential that could be realized. If it's not currently being realized, it could be realized. And so the assessor assigns a taxable value accordingly. Open space recognizes that not all land is used for residential purposes. And in some cases, the current use is agriculture or working forestry. So the open space program that I'll be telling you about is this third category on the right. You've all heard of open space ag and designated forest land, I'm sure. That's like huge parts of the county are enrolled in those tax programs. Those are administered by the assessor's office. So we actually have no interface with those programs. And that covers the clear majority of all open space in the county. Tonight, we're talking about this third category. It's the public benefit rating system is how we evaluate these properties. They're primarily properties that have high ecological value, some conservation resources and endangered species or sensitive wildlife habitat, and or there's recreational potential on the property. So it's usually one of those two, sometimes it's both. Here's a map showing all of the open space in the county. The dark green is designated forest land, that's working forest land that's actively managed for timber production. The lighter green is open space ag, that's commercial agricultural ground. The red is this category that we're talking about tonight called open space land. And as Mark mentioned, we are embarking on an update to this program. And one of the things that I hope to update is the name of the program, because nobody ever recognizes the term open space land. So I might say OSL throughout this presentation. That's what I'm talking about, this red acreage. The process that we generally follow, staff receive applications. We score properties according to the Public Benefit Rating System, PBRS, and I'll tell you a little bit more about that in a sec. Then we make a recommendation based on that score to the Planning Commission. The Planning Commission hears this presentation, you all evaluate and make your decision, and then that goes to County Council. And County Council is the final decision maker. If council approves the application, then the assessor will make adjustments to taxes accordingly. If the application is denied, then depending on what their current status is, they'll either stay the same, or sometimes they're enrolled in OSAG and now they've received a notice from the assessor that they're erroneously enrolled in OSAG. They come to our program, If they then get denied, they get kicked out of open space altogether and their taxes go up to the normal highest and best use. So there's a few different scenarios depending on the particular parcel. That's generally the process. So more about the PBRS. This is what we'll be updating this year. The PBRS is about 35 years old and has not been updated in that time. It has some really good components and it has some other things that are outdated and basically everyone agrees need to be updated. So the PBRS, you know, has a bunch of different criteria relating to conservation values, recreation potential, wildlife habitat, the degree of public access, many other criteria that we can talk more about if you're interested. A score gets pumped out from this evaluation, and if the score is 45 or above, then it receives a staff recommendation. That doesn't always mean that the planning commission approves those. Sometimes it gets higher than 45, staff approve it, recommend approval, but then the planning commission does not recommend approval. Ultimately, county council can still decide to do what they want. Yeah, that's generally how the PBRS works. One component I'll flag is generally public access is required according to the PBRS system that council established 35 years ago. However, I just pulled up this this document. There is a component here that will actually be relevant for tonight. On parcels where there is documented endangered species that have been identified on the property, staff are instructed here to automatically recommend approval with a recommendation for no public access. And council also in this criteria, it talks about how council has the opportunity to waive that requirement for public access when there's wetlands or endangered species involved. So I'll circle back to that on this particular parcel in a minute. This is what our criteria looks like.
Question.
Yeah, totally.
For the X number of red open space parcels that exist, do you have like a back of the envelope guess as to how many of those have waived public access requirements? Like what percent would you say get it waived?
That's a super good question. I think if I gave you an answer, it would not be a very good one.
Okay.
But that should be an answer we evaluate in our update.
Yeah.
I'd be really curious.
Because it sounds like that'll be the case today and we'll discuss why, I'm sure. But I've seen, this will be the third that I've seen in the whatever year and a half that I've been on this, and all three have had that waived.
Right.
So I'm just curious to how much public access really truly is required. And I'm wondering if it's like the majority of these don't actually allow it. And I'd just be curious as you would assess it. It seems like something to look into.
Right. Yeah, they're the bigger red polygons here, those are golf courses. And their degree of public access is questionable. That's another thing we're going to evaluate in this update. But yeah, sorry, I can't give you a better answer. That is a really good question. Any other questions before I shift to the particular application? Okay, so the application you are evaluating tonight is the Lane parcel, and we actually have the Lanes here with us. So they've owned this parcel for, I'll let you guys maybe speak to that, but it's been in their ownership for some time. It's a property, its current use is conservation, has a conservation easement on it. There's no improvements. It's a part of the larger Black Slough wetland complex. I'll show you some maps that kind of show that in context. It's a 38 acre parcel and received a 58.64 score in the PBRS. So a pretty high score. I've evaluated maybe 7 or 8 of these, and this is on the higher end, not super high, but you know, it got a pretty good score, especially given that there is a petition for public access to be waived. And that lowers the score dramatically because of about a third of the criteria has to do specifically with just public access. So I'll get into the details here, but that's kind of the overview. Here's where the parcel is located. The town of Acme is in the southern part of this map, the bottom left. This is the South Fork, and you can kind of get a good perspective on the left and on the right of this lowland forest that's in the valley bottom of the South Fork. Most of the South Fork is commercially farmed. There are some remnants of native forest that are in the South Fork. This is one of those chunks.
Can I ask a quick question?
Yeah.
I was looking at the assessor's map, kind of similar to that one. That big line that goes from north to south that kind of cuts through the property on the west side, what is that?
That is the Williams natural gas pipeline.
Okay.
And I have a nice map that shows more detail on that pipeline. Yeah, that's really the only use on the property currently, is that there's an easement for a natural gas pipeline.
Thank you.
Here's zooming in, showing the zoning. So most of the South Fork Valley Bottom is ag zoned, but the subject property is RF, rural forestry. So that's generally one home per 20 acres, a 20-acre minimum lot size. This is a 40-acre lot, but there's a conservation easement on it that prevents some of the options that you'd have for development. An interesting component of the conservation easement is it does retain one development right. So there could someday be a single family residence on the home. It is covered in wetlands. So I don't know how feasible it actually is to do that, but the way that the easement was structured does have that allowance. Otherwise, timber harvest, mining, hunting, road building, home building, it's all prohibited on the rest of the property. This is the 100-year floodplain. This is not the draft maps. You guys probably got used to seeing the draft and the effective. This is just the effective, but you can see actually a part of the property is within the floodway. So Valley Bottom, a lot of the South Fork floods, this is one of those parcels. Zooming in a little further, here's some of the hydrologic features of the property. You can't really tell based on this map because I'm not great at making maps, but the Black Slough makes up that western property boundary. The Black Slough is a creek. It's a major tributary to the South Fork. Salmon bearing, it's one of the more important low salmon bearing streams on the South Fork. On the right side, on the east side of the parcel is Homesteader Creek, which is another salmon bearing creek. And they come together on the county's property to the north. The county also owns the parcel directly to the west. So this is a high priority conservation area where the county has acquired a lot of acreage over the years for wetland conservation and salmon recovery. And I'm happy to share more about that if you're interested. Here's that pipeline map I mentioned. The red dotted line is the Williams pipeline. That orange line is the 600-foot buffer off of that pipeline. There are some restrictions. I'm not sure exactly what PDS requires in terms of proximity to a major natural gas pipeline, but I figured I would throw that on there for your guys's reference. Zooming in even further, here's a soil map. I included some of this in the staff report. If you want to nerd out on soils, you can do that. It doesn't mean a lot to me. I don't know a lot about soils, but that information is in the staff report. You can see Black Slough a little better there and see the natural gas pipeline in the forest. Here's just an aerial shot showing winter imagery. So you can see where the conifers are. There's a nice stand of mature conifers running through the middle of the forest. It's really cool, kind of what you see in older forests where these cedars and hemlocks and spruces are growing on nurse logs and they're out of the standing wet water. And those are the trees that have survived. Very interesting forest. A lot of cottonwoods, alders. I'm sure there are birches in there. I just didn't identify them. Cedar, hemlock, fir, spruce. Some conifers coming up in the understory. While I was on the site, I ran into the herd of elk that lives in that area, and a lot of people told me I was probably going to see them, and I did. In fact, they were just leaving this property that I was on, the lane parcel. This is on the adjacent parcel, and there's about 75 elk. It could have been more. But this population is known to use this habitat for a lot of different purposes. They're grazing mostly in the open areas, and their bedding sites are kind of in that more forested parcel, like what we're seeing on the lane parcel. And actually, while I was there, I looked into the regulations and confirmed, oh, it's not hunting season. I'll be probably okay to walk through this parcel. And it turns out a different neighbor told me that later that day, one of these elk was actually shot on that parcel, or maybe the one over from it. So I didn't look into the legality of that hunting, but this is all to say these elk are hunted, and hunting is a concern that I'll bring up when we talk more about public access. And I lost my ability to move forward.
You call that poaching, not hunting.
Well, I wasn't gonna say that word, but
Well, it depends.
It could be
it
depredation.
could have been a depredation,
That's
yes.
what that could have been depredation, it could have been native. That was the depredation. It could also have been a native.
Right,
Used on a custom hunting grounds.
right. Just a few more slides. This is some of the topography and ecology I was trying to mention. Some really awesome established native conifers that are doing well, and then a lot of standing water. The day I was there, it was actually frosty, and that actually helped me walk through this stand. Otherwise, it was a super wet property. It is a high functioning wetland, doing what forested wetlands do, hold water. Here is on the left an image of the conservation easement. I do have that pulled up if anyone wants to read any more about that. The easement is, as I mentioned, restricts most activities that anyone would ever do on this property. Really manage it for conservation, and it's held by Whatcom Land Trust. The right PDF here, this was included in your packet. This is a letter from Whatcom Land Trust where they spell out the purpose of the easement and express their support for waiving public access in this case. The last part I wanted to share with you, these two pink polygons, that's county-owned property. And you can see kind of that stream that runs through that northern parcel. There's a significant amount of riparian restoration happening on county-owned land for salmon recovery in particular. These streams are used by a variety of salmonids, including steelhead, which is a ESA listed species, and bull trout are mapped to be on the property. So those are two listed species. Coho, likely other salmonids use this area as well. So Whatcom County is advancing what they call, I forget the exact name, this is the Black Slough Culvert Removal Project, something like that. It's Public Works that's moving that forward. And they're proposing to widen where these two stars are, they're proposing to widen the culvert that goes under Homesteader Road. But as a part of that project, if they're letting fish come into that area, there are other culverts that will then block fish, including some that are on Homesteader Road on the south side of the road, the northern part of the subject property. They're old driveway aprons that cross the ditch and have culverts that are way undersized and not functioning. So Public Works, I happened to be talking with them about this area. They said, hey, you should approach the landowners and see if they're willing to forego vehicular access to the property so that those driveway aprons could just be removed altogether, allowing fish passage in this salmon bearing ditch. And I talked with the landowners. They expressed their willingness to work with the county. I have that documentation and I've connected them with Public Works to figure out those next steps. And I decided to award them partial discretionary points. At the very end of the PBRS, it says, what are the landowners willing to go above and beyond for anything else? Are there discretionary points you'd like to allocate? Up to 40 points are available to be allocated. And I chose 20. It was somewhat arbitrary, but it was recognizing the willingness of these landowners to work with the county on this culvert removal project. And it would mean they can no longer access the northern part of the property with vehicles. But because this is a conservation property, they have expressed a willingness to see that happen. Here's one of those aprons, just to give you an idea of what these look like. So that would be removed and this ditch would be passable for fish is kind of what's being proposed. All right, that was quick, but I'm happy to answer any questions if you have any.
Great, so I think what we'll do now is if any commissioners have any clarifying questions, which are just short questions to clarify what Alex was talking about, we'll take those now. Otherwise, we'll move into our hearing, and then after that, we'll have our work session. Red, do you have a clarifying question?
Somewhat. If you could just go back to one of the images that's probably not completely zoomed in, but a couple of properties around it.
You full screen will happen.
That'll do. So I just wanted to put on the public record. So if you look at the southwest corner of that, there's sort of like an L-shaped parcel.
Oh yeah, this one.
Yeah, that one. I own that one. I don't believe my vote has, I don't believe I will benefit at all from this vote, but I just wanted to put that on the record that I am an adjacent property owner. Thank you.
And if we might leave that up for when we talk, we can point out
Okay.
headland and stuff. If that works for everybody, unless you need to see the people.
We can figure it out.
Okay. Gorgeous.
Cool. Thank you, Red. Yeah, and like always, if you have any conflict of interest, we're voting on something where you've got a financial interest or anything like that, like just let us know. Usually good to abstain, or in this case, if it's not gonna bring Red any financial gain one way or the other, then imagine you can vote on it. Any other clarifying questions from commissioners? Anybody online? I can't see the online people.
Yeah, Jim's hands up.
I think Jim's hand was up.
Jim's hand, okay.
Yes.
Yes, Alex, to what extent could this property and adjacent properties play into potential water storage and flood attenuation projects being designed or considered by the river and flood?
Yeah, that's a great question. So for those of you who are tracking WIRA 1 conversations, there's been a lot of emphasis on slowing down the flow and augmenting late summer stream flow, not just for fish, but also for farmers. So you can do that with dam infrastructure. A lot of other basins do that, or you can do that with natural infrastructure. And so the county and the tribes and other partners have looked into natural storage solutions. Their number one spot for natural storage was the Black Slough complex. So that was kind of the impetus for the county at acquiring these parcels that are neighboring. And there's a lot of other neighboring landowners who have expressed a willingness to do more beaver work, do more channel reconnection work, wetland restoration work that helps hold on to water and store it for late summer flow, help augment the flow levels.
You might remember a couple summers ago, there was a really dry summer. There was a huge salmon kill on the South Fork because the water temperature got to a lethal point and the fish just died. And so big effort amongst WIRA 1, which is the Water Resource Inventory Area 1, with the tribes and county and Fish and Wildlife and other folks to reconnect, try to get more water into the river, the South Fork in the summertime. And connecting it to its historic floodplain is one of those things. And that the Black Slough complex is key to that. So that's why the county Public Works has been acquiring a lot of those properties, trying to do this restoration to get more colder water into the river in the summer months. So.
One more quick question. What are all the endangered species that are present?
Winter steelhead, the Puget Sound ESA listed population, and bull trout. Bull trout are modeled. I don't know if they've been documented, but I checked numerous sources and they're modeled presence in the stream. Oh yeah, I'm sorry, I forgot the third one, Oregon spotted frog. I can't believe I forgot that. Sorry. Yeah, OSF, Oregon spotted frog has been documented on the property. And I don't know a lot about Oregon spotted frog, to be honest, so I can't speak a lot to the habitat they need and whatnot, but yeah.
And the other thing, Alex mentioned the culverts. You guys might have heard of the culverts case, which is where the native tribes sued the state of Washington over the fact that culverts on state highways were blocking fish access, so fish couldn't get upstream to spawn where there were inadequate culverts across state highways. The case went to Supreme Court. Supreme Court said yes, or they agreed. So the state has been spending a lot of money. You've seen all those projects on I-5 in this county, in other counties to improve, take out those culverts and improve the flow, natural flow of streams so fish can get upstream to spawn. So the counties and cities are doing the similar work on their roads that they own and maintain, even though there's not a court case against them. It was pretty much, you could see the handwriting on the wall, right? So we felt, well, the county certainly feels we have an obligation to do what we can to also reduce fish barriers on culverts. So that contributes to this case as well.
If there's no more questions from commissioners for Alex, want to move to the public hearing? Eileen, you want to give your
Yes.
spiel?
As stated earlier, this meeting is being broadcast live and the recording will be posted to our website. You will be given 3 minutes for the public hearing, and this will be on OSP 2025-0002, the Lane property. There are 2 attendees in the audience. If you would like to provide public comment, please write your name on the list and state your name for the record.
Thank you for giving us the chance to come out and share some details with Simon staff.
My name's Ken Lane.
And I'm Carrie Lane.
Yeah, we live just down Homesteader Road a bit from the property there. I guess we just would like to start by saying we're real excited about the conservation going on in the Black Slough. We just purchased 40 acres. It's the headwaters of the Black Slough we're working on getting into conservation.
A wetland government program.
Yeah, and hopefully the Whatcom Land Trust will pick that up and put that into a trust. So we have that, and then we have a piece that is just to the south of what we call the wilderness, which is the piece we're talking about. That piece, Black Slough runs through that. We're having some conservation work done with the county this year to plant along the stream so it is better for the salmon.
And the frogs. There's
And the
going
frogs.
to be,
Well,
this is the
yeah.
Black Slough here, and there's gonna be open spots to have the spotted frogs love the heat.
Yeah,
And the sun. The salmon need the cold, and there's
shade.
gonna be areas for both within the program that's been accepted and
Yeah.
in play right now.
It's yeah. So our main concern with the asking for the open space is and having non-public access is that we have a lot of pressure from the elk hunters there. And over the years, we've had trespassing quite often and poaching quite often. And we were concerned that we would like it to be in public, open space, and public access would be okay without that. But with that being there, we're afraid that people would just go on there and try to flush the elk out, which we've been proposed from people to say, hey, can we go on your property and just flush them out to the neighboring property so we can shoot them? And we're not, because of anyway, it's all wet in there. It's, the critical habitat and the species there. We feel that it wouldn't be, we don't want that to just have people walking around in there. So that's our major concern is with the open space, public access, and that's why we're asking for that to be waived.
Yeah. So we're excited that we can create conservation, and there's a lot of properties between the county and public folks like Brad and ourselves, creating a lot of conservation around the Black Slough. We think public access is fantastic. humans need to get out into the wilderness and be human, but this property feels really risky with the kind of high targeted area from the hunters. And I walk the dogs every morning at 8 and around noon. And in the hunting season, like just so many trucks and they're all nice. We all say hello and everybody's really friendly. Ken was a fisherman, nothing against hunters. It's just not an area for that with people walking, with dogs, with people around, as well as we're trying to create open spaces for other species. There's 7 owl species on there. There's cougar, bobcat, red-legged frogs. What else? We listed them, weasels and nesting red-tailed hawk. Of course, the elk. We just want help getting lower taxes to have created this zone of conservation, but don't feel it's really appropriate for the open access.
Thank you.
Any questions about that? Okay, we'll write it.
Absolutely, we're gonna have a work session, so we'll close the public hearing and then have to check online, and then we'll have a work session. During the work session, we might ask you questions.
Beautiful, thank you.
Other public comments?
Dan, can I just ask them a question?
Would you mind holding to a work session? Would that be okay? Sure. There'll definitely be a chance to do that. Anybody online?
There are no other attendees.
Sweet, sounds good. With that, I will close the public hearing and we'll open the work session. Yes, Mark, you have a question?
Yeah, I'm curious, the pipeline easement, do people on your property or adjacent properties, is there public access in that easement? Or
I
not?
walk on it every day. Yeah.
Do
Um,
other folks?
It's one of the areas that I've found in the past, I found cameras back along the pipeline where the hunters had put up
Trail cam.
trail cams.
Right, yeah.
So stuff like that, yeah.
Game cameras, yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's an easy access because like you said, walking through those woods there, it is wet, even
hard.
on the pipeline. I
Yeah,
mean, it's gonna go knee deep
yeah.
and, fill the boots up real quick.
But I read that easement, it didn't include public access, the pipeline easement.
The Williams,
Yeah,
yeah,
the Williams pipeline easement.
but they are heavily used in the city, for example. I walk my dog on the
Yeah,
oil pipeline easement all the time, even though there's no, yeah.
right.
Right,
Curious.
we own, you know, they have the easement on our property, so
Yeah.
we can wander around on it,
Yeah.
but it's not a public
Yeah.
access. Yeah, besides people just use, you know,
And are they elk just in the valley in the winter? Or are they there all year?
All year round.
yeah.
Rich, we'll take our next question from Rudd. I see your hand next.
Yeah, it's more of a statement. When the poachers drive the elk off the Lanes property, they drive them onto my property. And
And then they shoot them there?
what was that?
And then they shoot them there or?
Absolutely. I have a constant problem with people saying, "Oh, gee, I guess you've sort of never had anybody ask you this question, but can I go hunt elk on your property?" Or I just find them there illegally. So yeah, it's elk heaven. Let's just say it's elk heaven in that area.
Jim, I see your hand next.
Yes, I was involved in helping do some habitat restoration on the South Fork there, and right about the time that there was a major park established on the old Galbraith property, Mosquito Lake Road in conjunction with the river there, and part of my understanding of why that park hasn't been fully developed in this beautiful area is that resistance of the local community to eliminate one of the places they could go and shoot elk.
We use that park quite a bit. In the first day I walked there, there was a hunter coming out with his gun in this little park. I haven't seen anybody with a gun there since in the past years, but
But yeah, the areas that are open for hunting have been. They've been slimmed
Oh, is that
down
what
over
it
the
is?
years.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
oh, I see.
Dominic, I see your hand.
Yeah, so I thought in the past when we've asked about how these properties were getting assessed for taxes if they were completely encumbered with a conservation easement, I thought that the somebody from the assessor had told us at one point, I can't remember which one of these it was, that they were taking that into consideration, or they would if it was presented to them. I am curious on how this one would fall there, since they technically, while it might be difficult, technically still retain one development right.
So Christine Larson from the assessor's office is actually here, and she might be able to weigh in and speak to that.
Yeah, Christine, you wanna answer that question?
Hi, it can affect the value. That is an appraisal judgment call. The landowners need to reach out and speak with an appraiser. I'm not logged into my system right now, so I can't tell if the land is currently receiving any reductions or not. If the landowners have reached out to our office, it's entirely possible that they are receiving a reduction, but it's case by case basis. We don't get informed about conservation easements, so hope that helps.
I have a question
Yes.
for the owners then, if they know that, if they have ever reached out, or if they know that they're getting maybe a reduced rate already from the assessors because of the condition of the property.
We've never reached out to them.
We did.
We did.
Yeah, we reached out, and was there a overhaul going on? The person that I talked to said that they were going to be evaluating taxes again. I'm sorry, I don't have names, but they did not reduce the taxes for that parcel. Who asked that? Someone on the screen. Dominic asked it. So, yes, I did reach out with this piece has conservation. Would that qualify as for reduced taxes just from the assessor's office? And they said no.
Matt, good.
Yeah, thank you, Commissioner Masseri, for bringing up the assessment angle there. That was my initial impression of this, is if they wanted to retain private access to the property. It seems like the assessor might be valuation appeal might be a better route to go. If it's not buildable and it's all wet in critical areas, then it should be valued as recreational property, it seems to me. I do take a little issue with taking it out of the pool of taxable properties and not requiring public access, making the public bear the cost of the lost taxes, even though it's just a little bit, and not really get much tangible public benefit. And personally, I just feel that conservation includes harvesting of game, so if we're talking preservation, that's one thing, but conservation, everywhere I fish is wet and has bull trout too. So it's I don't know if that's the greatest argument there. I would recommend looking into the WDFW has a private lands hunting access program where it will allow hunting in areas. It's a lot more restricted to certain days, and someone from Fish and Wildlife will work with the landowner, make sure that it excludes poachers and too many people and stuff like that. But that might be something interesting to look into if you do want to manage trespassing. That's a good way to do it, because they will regulate a little better officers. But yeah, that's kind of how I feel.
Thank you. And we do intend to keep the 4 acre set aside out of that property for potentially having a residential area. So we're not trying to be golden people here. It's just, it is a reality that could someday be developed as a residential area with that 4 acres, and the rest is donated to the Whatcom Land Trust.
So the rest of it is already
The rest of it
non-hunting,
is non-hunting. Nothing can happen there. We
Yeah.
donated it to the Whatcom Land Trust.
For the easement.
or the easement for us, yeah. They hold the easement on,
They hold
yeah.
the easement on
Yeah.
it. But yes, we still have this 4 acres that could be developed. The other 40 acres that we just got are gonna 100% be donated to the Whatcom Land Trust. That's the headwaters. But yes, it still has a benefit of a residential area being there. Yeah.
Thank you.
Mhm.
For the,
I did just look, they are receiving a 75% adjustment on their land,
We are.
so they do have a reduction.
Power reduction.
And sorry, it's a 75% reduction.
Yes,
So instead of $1, they're paying 25 cents. Essentially.
yes, I think so, yes.
I know.
Were you a part of the emails? Cause I remember your name that we.
I don't think so.
Okay.
Hmm.
I'll have to find, I can find the emails and we can bring in our tax stubs. But obviously you have your records. I apologize for giving this information. That is not my nature. We're not trying to present anything incorrectly here, so I appreciate you going on and finding that. Of course, I'm a little embarrassed that I gave misinformation, but
Yeah.
so we were trying to go, when we're doing all this conservation, we realized, wow, we have all these taxes for these pieces. What can we do? The first thing was to try with the assessor's office to get it lowered, and I have a very clear memory of it being no. So I don't understand that, but I'm excited to call and learn about that more.
Yeah, your appraiser is Jill, and I highly recommend that you call and talk to Jill.
Yeah,
For sure.
that, I can recognize Jill. Yes.
Nick, go ahead.
Yeah, I was saying, I have another question, but now that we've heard this, it makes some sense to me, just to back of the envelope, if it's only gonna save them 1,200 off 38 or whatever it is acres. That feels like it would be already reduced. Normally the tax rate on 38 acres, it would be considerably higher than that if we put it all in OSL, so. Wouldn't surprise me if there's, if some of it's already been reduced, but I obviously don't know that for sure. My question on the open space application, it is for the full parcel, not just the conservation easement, or is it just the part that's conserved?
Yeah, the way our open space program works, we just follow the tax parcels
Okay.
as their tax, and the easement area doesn't fully and cleanly overlay with that. It's 34 acres instead of roll 38 point whatever.
Okay, for Alec, and the Public Works is all on board on all of this as far as culvert removal, and they're all up and positive.
They're very excited about it.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
they've been having trouble with other landowners being willing to work with them,
Sure.
because it's not always
Oh, I can
mandatory.
understand that too.
Yeah,
I
sometimes
get it.
landowners want to retain access and they don't want to have to deal with the culvert widening.
Yeah,
So they were very excited. And they have funding that's in the works. They don't yet know exactly their design, but now that they have this information, they're going to try to build that into their design and figure out when the machinery and the crew is out there, how could they remove that infrastructure while also widening the culverts under Homesteader. So, yeah, and I have that all in documentation if you're interested in seeing kind of what their perspective is. It's not my expertise, so.
Yeah.
I just defer to them.
it's easy to picture.
Yeah.
Dominic, I see your hand.
Yeah, does anybody know, let's say that culvert gets removed, in the future, somebody down the road decides to build a house and is successfully given a permit to build a house on those 4 acres. Do we know what standard they'd be required to for that permit? Would it have to meet that same fish passage standard or just a typical kind of residential standard?
Yeah, that's a great question, Dominic. My understanding is they'd have to get an encroachment permit from Public Works, right, to work in the right of way, and that would have to meet whatever the current design standard is, to allow fish passage.
One more point about the particular parcel. The areas where the culverts would be removed is on the northern part of the parcel, the very northern property line. The easement carves out a building envelope on the southern part of the property. So they're separate entirely, different parts of the property.
Okay.
So this is the third one of these that I've seen. I mentioned that before. The last two, folks may recall, I voted no on both. It was pretty hot under the collar on the second one. And I don't love the open space program as it currently stands. I'm thrilled that we're gonna be revising it because I think it's just ripe for abuse. That said, this is the first one I've seen that I do not feel that way, for the following reasons. The first is that obviously there's a clear intent to do real conservation here, not just, hey, I want to save money on my taxes, which is what the last two have been. There is meaningful public benefit occurring with the culvert changes. If those were not part of this, I'd probably feel maybe differently. Because there's already the conservation easement, there already is the tax savings that come with that, at least as far as the assessor is aware. But I think that's a meaningful benefit to the public, that is worth that investment in
tax that's gonna go to other property owners in the area. And at the end of the day, it's, there's no plans for current residential. It is clearly a very wet and wild property, which I think is the kind of place we wanna, invest this in. Doesn't seem like public access is the best in this space. And there wouldn't be a lot of benefit to it because it wouldn't connect to anything. So for those reasons, unless, something else comes to light between now and the vote, I think this one is worth, our approval.
Rob, go ahead.
Yeah, just for clarity, was the report from Christine Larson that they're already receiving a 75% discount on the taxes?
That is what she said.
Okay, because that's not what the assessor's website says.
Yeah.
Well, you wouldn't see the land adjustment. So the land adjustment is kind of behind the scenes, and I do want to clarify that I may be reading that backwards. It might be a 25% reduction.
Okay,
They are receiving a reduction. I'm not an appraiser. I see the number 75, but that's looking like it's about a 25% reduction.
Okay, because I'm looking at it, it says it's the value in 25-26 tax year was 412,000 as the total appraised value with no discount. That's
correct. It's a land adjustment that's held within the land segments. You wouldn't see that on the public side.
Okay, well, okay.
So it sounds like there's a little bit of confusion as to what kind of reduction the landowners are currently receiving. Is that right?
Even.
Yeah,
Yeah, if you want to give me a moment, I'll do the math. I'm not used to looking at those, and so I'm not entirely sure which way to read this. But give me
Christine,
yeah.
I've got multiple properties, and if I've got a property that's got an open space designation, for example, it'll say the value is called $500,000 less 400,000 for productivity loss, which is usually the way that the open space taxation is reflected on the assessor's website, and I don't see that in this case.
Well, this isn't in open space, so it's not going to be reflected as open space is.
No, I know, but there's no productivity loss.
Exactly. Land adjustments aren't shown as productivity loss.
Christine, why don't we give you a minute to come back at us with a more detailed answer? In the meantime, I got a question for Alex. Could you pull up the rating sheet, just kind of walk us through the rating that you gave them and kind of some background on that?
Yeah, just give me a minute. I'll pull up a PDF. I mean, there's a lot of, I should have here. Yeah, let's see that. Was there a particular section you wanted to look at?
Packet, I just noticed like there was a rating for points forward for like an educational. If I'm reading that right. Thing.
I think I know which one you're talking about.
Yeah, so I guess I would just say if you sort of pull up the agenda, you just kind of walk us through how you work.
JP.
And you want the rating?
Yeah. Okay, there we just one more down. Here it is.
Just there, and then Eileen, if you could X out on the left-hand side, the tools, and then just make that as big as you.
And you could just start on the left side, because there's two different columns that are assessed differently.
There we go.
I want to share this real quick.
Thanks for doing that.
Yeah.
All right, was there a certain part you wanted to look at, or should?
If you could just give us the elevator speech. Kind of
The elevator speech,
down.
okay, so yeah, section 1 is really about conserving natural resources, scenic resources. Scenic vistas to the public, lands in which if they are left in their natural state, would serve as buffers between commercial and industrial activity and areas of human habitation. I mean, this is in the ag corridor of the South Fork. It's visible from Highway 9. There's commercial forestry on the Van Zant Dike, which is immediately adjacent. And then there's a pipeline. So different forms of industrial activity that got them 2.5 points. They did not get points for lands that can serve to prevent the spread of high density residential development into less developed areas. There isn't any nearby high density developed areas. There's no airport located nearby. You know, you can see the criteria, it weights certain things higher than others. And so you just have to, you can scroll down. It's within the 100-year floodplain. There's a series of internal standards that we use for, we have like a GIS exercise, a little model that previous planners have built. And we run through each of these criteria on GIS and then confirm it when we do our site visit. So determining whether or not there's wetlands on the property, that one was actually really easy to determine on this property. If there's any forested swamps on the property, I think there's one about edge habitat, or maybe that's a different section. Streams, if alterations were to occur, a loss of quality, water quality would potentially occur. You know, I gave them points there. There's a lot of hydrology on the property that if there were development or if there was dirt work, it could have meaningful impacts on water quality. There weren't steep slopes. They didn't get points there. There was endangered species, so they got full points for that. Conservation by example, we have our internal criteria. If landowners have already developed a conservation easement that actually has meaningful restrictions, if it has teeth, then we award points on an application of conservation principles. That's conservation in action. It's not just words, it's actual restrictions on the property. And then also opportunities for conservation education and, you know, plantings, community events where the land trust can organize different kinds of events, bird watching. There's a lot of birds on the property, I understand. So things like that get the landowner points.
And just sorry, so on that one, so land, for example, application of conservation principles, yeah, I can see that. And then opportunities for conservation education, interpretation centers or trails. Is that something that's gonna happen? You're gonna have interpretive centers or trails?
I would have to evaluate we have a note on that in our spreadsheet that kind of determines how we internally score and assign points for that. And there must have been something within that note that's not reflected here that determined 5 points should be allocated. I think that, like I was trying to mention, like the willingness to work with nonprofits or agencies to have public, you know, interface, whether that's a tree planting event. I mean, there's CREP on the property, there's been restoration on the property in the past. They're doing a planting on the property to the south in the coming months. So that kind of activity doesn't necessarily have to be an interpretive center or an interpretive trail. That's how we've historically allocated points. And just go to the top here. So this is the public benefit value, PBV, which, you know, there's a complicated formula at the bottom of all of this, and it determines how the totals get added together. No shoreline access, you know, they didn't get any points for recreation. They, you know, even though there is public road frontage and there is availability of off-street parking, I still gave them 0 points because they're requesting a waiver of public access. So zeros for all of that. That significantly affected the score. Similarly, we go through a GIS exercise here to determine watershed areas, whether they're group A or B wellheads that need certain protection buffers. They didn't have any of those in the area. It was mapped as an aquifer recharge area, so it did get points for that. And then the hydrologic process, this is a similar to the other question, it's almost redundant. I think this is one of the things I want to update. Because of the stream hydrology on the site, they get points for that. Salmon bearing streams, more endangered species, consideration. And then if you scroll to the very bottom, I think there's one more. Oh yeah, parcel size. The bigger the parcel, they get additional points. If it's a small parcel, you get points reduced. So they did not have any reduction. Linkage with other open space. They are adjacent to OSAG lands all around. So they got points for that. And then if you scroll to the next page, Eileen, and to the left. Oh yeah, this is spillover from that first category. Yeah, I can go through these. I mean, 0 points for archaeological sites and historic sites, no recreation points here. This property actually did show up on a county map for a potential through trail through the South Fork someday. It's one of those, remember when BP came and they're like, what's up with this line going through, it's one of those dotted lines. But like what Mark was bringing up, maybe this pipeline could be an opportunity for a through trail someday. That would all have to be negotiated with every landowner at a time. In which case, if hunting is the concern, bike trails maybe could mitigate poaching. Sometimes having legitimate recreation can mitigate the kinds of recreation that are not as desired. So anyway, I gave him points for that. I was mapped. The percent, this is an interesting one. The percent that's in natural cover. So I reduced everything that was in the pipeline easement because it's reed canary grass. I would assume it's reed canary grass. And it's managed as a pipeline. The rest of it is dominated by native vegetation. So they got points for that. No financial advantage was considered. And then the yellow highlighted is the discretionary 20%. Which is it's not really 20%, it's 20 points in this category. Out of 40.
With the item 7, the financial advantage, the use to which land is put drives a financial advantage for its owners. I'm assuming that because you guys preserved the 4 acres, you're assuming you're gonna be building or potentially be building something there someday and then selling that.
It could be sold to somebody who could put a house on the 4 acres or, we could develop it.
Yeah, at the time when we did it, we just didn't, we were concerned about giving it up because a lot of money to spend and we wanted to have some sort of, maybe feasibility to be able to sell in the future with the building site still there. So it could be, otherwise it's just, even with our easement, if I would have put the whole 38 acres into a total easement, it would be hard to sell.
Yeah.
It'd be worthless, basically.
So
Other than for the conservation.
yeah. So Alex, when you look at number 7, financial advantage,
Yeah.
how do you or how does PDS interpret that?
Once again, I would have to look at our code that we follow, but the use to which that land is put. So that to me indicates the current use of the property. So if there was a gun range and they were charging people to use it, that's financial advantage.
Not future.
Yeah, I think it's the current use, right? Because this is current use taxation.
Yep.
So yeah, that's how we interpret that one. And I haven't seen that come up in the ones I've evaluated so far. If you own property to some extent, you have to deal with it financially. You're going to sell it someday, and you're right. So where is that line of what is financial advantage? Yeah. Any other questions about the criteria?
Yeah, I've had my hand up for a while.
Oh, hey, sorry, let's go back to Zoom there. Jim, go ahead.
Two questions. They're not necessarily about financial advantage, but the first one is the potentially developable spot. What's its status in terms of wetlands impacts? And the second one is, I thought earlier on in the presentation, Alex indicated that if there was a presence of endangered species on the property, that there was some sort of automatic approval. I might not have heard that correctly.
Yeah, I'll speak to the second question first. The PBRS criteria that council approved 30+ years ago. It says on parcels where there's documented endangered species on the property, the department shall automatically recommend approval. So that's staff approval. It doesn't mean that the planning commission has to automatically grant approval. The other question about the 4 acres, to my understanding, there hasn't been a whole lot of land use, investigation into that subject site and its buildability according to current wetland regulations. And so I don't think there's been a
I
quite.
did start an environmental assessment. This was like 20 years ago. And it's pretty wet there still on that corner, even though it's kind of the driest portion of that whole property, kind of is that southeast side that we kind of left the 4 acres on. So there's a lot of wetlands there. There's a few little dry spots. So I think I didn't follow through with it because it was kind of, it was expensive to do, and I wasn't really thinking that we would ever build there. To tell you the truth. And yeah.
I think I'll chime in really quickly too. We don't remember exactly when we purchased that land and when you were seriously trying to map that out and move on that 4 acres type of idea, but we were younger then. It was say we were 45 at that time. It was an example of, oh, we're still young. We could make this 4 acres into something, or we could have something happening. The 20 acres we just bought in a year ago and a bit, now we're 60, and and that piece should not be built on. We call it the deep swamp, and that we are just donating 100% to the Whatcom Land Trust to, we love the black slough. It's been very exciting. We're obviously very interested in this conservation piece. We may do that with what we call the wilderness. That if we don't get the lower taxes, or we don't ever feel we're gonna have the energy to develop those 4 acres. We have some friends that might be interested in it right now. We could look at that over the next 3 years. Em and Murray might want to live there. So maybe that 4 acres would be taken on by some younger people, but we have an out for the taxes if we need it, that we could donate that whole acreage. We are doing this land conservation regardless of the taxes because it makes us really happy.
Yeah.
And we had some government CREP assistance for putting the deep swamp with the WRE. I don't know what it stands for.
It's an NRCS wetland.
Wetland
program.
Yeah.
Our heart is to create these zones, and if we can have some tax benefit, that would be fantastic. If it doesn't work out and you guys have the whole picture of, you use terms I'd never thought of before, public, how it affects other landowners, we will totally respect that, and we have an option. The Whatcom Land Trust is coming out tomorrow to see if they'll be willing to accept the deep swamp.
Well, I wonder if Rod can comment on the wetland status, since he's our wetlands expert.
Little sassy Jim.
Well, that whole area is wet, believe me.
Christine,
I
I
took
see
care of that.
that
Well
you've
said.
been waiting for a long time. Thank you for your patience. Why don't you go ahead?
Okay, so I apologize. I had it backwards. The land is valued at 75% of its market value, so it's receiving a 25%.
Okay.
Yeah.
Big time.
Yeah.
Great. Sounds good.
Thank you.
Cool. We're in our work session, other commissioner comments or questions? Jim's back.
Yeah, I just like to move that we accept this proposal.
Yeah, get your wall black or something like that. I cannot see your hand.
Yellow hand, yellow wall.
Yellow hand, yellow wall. Go ahead.
Me again? I'd like to
Yeah.
move that we accept this open space proposal.
Got a motion? We got a second?
I can second it.
All right. Discussion.
Uh,
Yeah, Nick.
since we have we have definitely quorum plus one, right, or two, or three, I don't know I don't know where we're at.
We don't
but-
have too much plus, but.
Right, but I just, I'll put it out there as a question as to whether or not if this would be more secure if Rudd either recused himself or abstained since he was an adjacent property owner, and I don't want what I think might be a pretty one-sided vote, although I can't be sure. I don't want anything to like potentially endanger this as it goes forward, so I just want to put that out there for Rudd's consideration.
I'm happy to abstain.
Could we, Mark, could you just go over our sort of disclosure requirements on the Open Meetings Act?
Yeah, if you have a potential conflict of interest, you just need to disclose it, right? What Rudd did at the beginning, He simply said, I'm a neighbor. And didn't believe it would affect his vote. That usually in and of itself, as long as there's not a financial interest, you're not gonna benefit from this vote. Getting some financial benefit, that's usually fine, but yeah, if he wants to abstain, that's great.
Yes, Scott.
I'm fine with Rudd voting because he clarified it right from the beginning, so that's just my take on it. I'm good with it.
Yeah, obviously every commissioner can vote any way they want. You can vote yes, no, abstain, or you can be out of the room. That's the other way to vote. Dominic, see your hand next.
Yeah, I mean, I want to say I do appreciate all that this property and the property owners are doing. I guess the fact that they're already getting a discount from the assessors kind of maybe feels like the more appropriate path. So that's one thing I'm weighing against it.
Oh,
Scott.
well, I like the advantage of, what Public Works is offering and doing. That's why I'm in support of it, because it's not often you get those kind of things to happen, and I'm a proponent of hunting and fishing and everything outdoors, so I like that benefit to it. And now that we were clarified on where the property actually is by Christine, that makes me support it even more. So that's where I'm at.
Matt?
I just want to say thank you for all you've done for conservation out there. I just have a hard time with the awarding of discretionary points to get across the finish line when public access, not necessarily hunting, wildlife viewing, trails, fishing, could get you to that point too. So that's why I'm having a hard time with this, but.
And to clarify, it did meet the threshold without the discretionary points.
Wasn't it 35?
No, it was above, yeah, it wasn't 20 additional points.
20%.
It's 20% in the category,
That's right.
so it still was over 50, without the discretionary points. Yeah, this system is super unclear, yeah.
At
We're
first
gonna
I
think
thought it
that-
was the same thing.
Yeah.
And when you said 20%, it clarified it.
And even the
to
percent,
me.
it's out of
I like that that
140,
clarified it too.
it's
Yeah.
out of
The
100.
points and percentage concept is
Thank
supposed to
you.
be.
Yeah, so I just wanted to clarify that.
Truthfully, I wish there was a place for landowners who are doing conservation, because this doesn't fit as much open space for people to go enjoy it. And so I can see what you're saying, and I wish there was a place for landowners that were just wanting to have tax benefit because they're creating conservation for the sake of conservation without it having access.
Yeah.
So I understand it.
Yeah.
I think we're here because that other thing doesn't exist so much.
And again, I think we're not against public access to our other, places that we put into conservation, but because of the problems we've had over the years with people coming through there and poaching elk and the people living there, it's been a problem.
What's gonna stop them though, if this has a tax exemption? It's the
Nothing,
enforcement part.
they're gonna be there, and except that if it was posted as public access, we couldn't ask them to leave if they were, say, flushing the animals
Yeah,
out or
and-
something. They would be allowed to be there to do that. Right now, we could say, please don't trespass on the property.
And
I think, unless I'm misunderstanding something.
I think a lot of the hunters that I've talked to are pretty savvy on what's going on out there. And they know the places they can go, and they know the places that they aren't supposed to go. And if they know that they can go on there and just walk around, I think once that gets in the network, it goes. Because we've had in the past, I'd say 5 years, the amount of people pushing through the woods there and stuff has lessened. I'll say that. Now, they sit on the road a lot, they look a lot. There's been poaching 2 years ago, went on to the county land, the guy did. And then, I think maybe there's been a couple in the past 4 or 5 years, poachers went on and shot, but anyway.
I can empathize.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It definitely has gotten better because there's more, I think there's more, people are more knowledgeable on where they can and can't go with apps on their phones and stuff, and you know, we've been contacted every year, like I said, by multiple people coming to our house and asking for permission. So it has gotten better. Just the amount of people walking through, like when I found the game camera in there, it was like, that was 10, 12 years ago, you know, and there was less people kind of living out by there and stuff, so,
Everybody's really friendly. We all
Yeah.
say hi.
yeah. So,
Everybody's very respectful.
yeah,
But there's a little wiggle room. There's gonna be some.
yeah, that's what we're afraid of.
Jim, I see your hands up.
Yeah, I'd like to call a question. Move
Oh,
the
I see
question.
another. Okay, so, if you want to call a question, then we got to vote on that. And I think it's,
Needs a second, needs a
supermajority.
second.
Oh, right, sorry, my apologies. We need a second first.
I'm only not seconding it, Jim, just because it looked like Red wanted to speak and.
That's the same for me. It
All
looks
right,
like
good. So I did not hear a second.
I'll second the motion.
Go ahead.
Okay, Red
Okay.
second.
Red second, call the question. Okay, sounds good. So we're gonna vote on call the question. And I think we need a supermajority. for that.
Yeah.
Sorry, any chance I could be the person who seconds calling the question?
Yes.
Okay,
But I think Red just seconded it.
I know, but. I don't wanna be a stickler, but it's just like, for like, if there was a county attorney in the room, I think they would say. That by definition, this land use application implies a financial, and everyone nearby will either pay less or more taxes. Depending on this, which includes Red. So it is literally a financial conflict. I don't think he obviously doesn't care. Like, I'm like,
Right.
no one thinks that this matters to Red at
Okay,
all,
you're-
but I'm just
you're
like
not-
saying, like, I don't, I don't think it makes sense for us to like do the.
You had made the second. Are you okay with Nick taking the second?
Well, just for clarity, if this goes through, I pay more taxes, not less.
Yeah, I'm aware,
Yeah.
I'm 100%. And assuming you're voting yes, I would imagine it would be no one ever going. I'm just.
Point of order. I voted for calling the question, which has no impact on financial interest.
Yeah.
I understand.
Okay, so let's just vote on calling the question. Eileen, could you take a roll call, please?
Yes. Van Dalen,
Yes.
Barry,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Dunn,
Yes.
Greif,
Yes.
Hanson,
Yes.
Mosseri.
No.
That passes.
Sweet, so that passes. So then we are taking a vote on the main motion, which is the proposal. Eileen, could you do the roll, please?
Yes. Brown,
Going to abstain.
okay, he's gonna get some. Dunn,
Yes.
Greif,
Yes.
Hanson,
Yes.
Mosseri,
No.
Van Dalen,
Yes.
Barry,
Yes.
and that passes.
Excellent, sounds good. That concludes our work session. And we are now on to unfinished business. And we have any unfinished business.
Is that, should we, is that our?
I mean, you can stay. but
Yes,
you're-
you're welcome.
you're- you're not, you know.
We have open space, so you know.
Thank you all for your time.
Yeah, thank you for all you do for the saloon.
No problem.
Seeing no other unfinished business. In that case, we are adjourned. Thank you.
Good.
Thank you.
Commissioners.
Good job.